Tonight, Stanford coach Tara Vanderveer chases basketball history as the winningest coach in the women's game as the Cardinal take on Pacific. Sunday, in a win over the Cal Bears, she reached the summit and joined Pat with win number 1,098 and now stands a handful of victories in front of Gino Auriemma. He added one to his tally today at the University of Connecticut. And now Tara poised to pass Pat this evening and take over that top spot by herself. Beth Mullins along with Debbie Antonelli at the University of Pacific for the Tigers, their first game of the season after a multitude of cancellations and postponements. And it won't be an easy task, Debbie, against the #1 ranked team in the country, and they have started out hot.
They are really good, Beth. Tara Vanderveer has put together a group that moves it, they shoot it, and they can defend it at a very high level. Is this an elite team? I think it is. Could this be one of her best? It might be. We've got a lot of season left to play, but this is going to be really interesting to watch the Cardinal go to work tonight.
A pair of national championships in her 35 years at Stanford back in 1990 and 1992. Tara talks about the depth of this unit, Debbie, as one of the best that she has had on the farm.
They're deeper, 1 through 5. Their perimeter length is evident. They have incredibly good offensive habits. They run the floor hard and wide. And the one thing you can say about Tara Vanderveer, she doesn't get out-coached and she doesn't overcoach her team.
Led by Haley Jones, last year's top recruit coming out of high school. Only played half the season, got hurt, and she is making up for the lost time through the first couple of games. She's running with Fran Belibi. I'm sure you saw it. SportsCenter Top 10 highlight. Her dunk on Saturday night. Can she make it 2 in a row and another big night for her head coach? She did it in high school, finally got the opportunity last night, Debbie.
I mean, look at the crossover to get to the rim. Fran Belibi is 6'1", with a 6'8" wingspan and a 31.5-inch vertical, and she's been dunking since she was a sophomore in high school. She's impressive, and she can really play in the high post.
The Cardinal at 4-0, taking over the top spot after NC State upset South Carolina a couple weeks ago. They stay at #1 this week. So many student athletes have been in Tara's classroom, which also happens to be the gymnasium. Probably around 200 letter winners that have come under her guidance at Stanford. A 5-year stint at Ohio State, a couple of years at Idaho, where she started on this journey back in 1978. A couple of years with the Vandals, then really turned the Buckeyes program around before heading out to the West Coast. Those 2 national championships, an Olympic gold medal winning team under her tutelage in 1996 that changed the course of USA basketball. Started a run of 6 consecutive dominant gold medal performances by Team USA after the Americans took home the bronze in 1992.
Innovative, crafty and creative, smart and brilliant, hardworking. And not only are her teams prepared, Beth, they are ready. And there's a difference between the two. This is a group that's hungry. They want to continue to have success. And one of the things I love watching is how hard they run the floor and how well they move the ball. 61% of their baskets are assisted. That is a very high number for an early part of the season.
They have adapted well to all the changes this fall. They haven't spent much time on campus of late due to COVID restrictions, and a nomadic start to the season, and now primed to be a part of an historic night for their head coach. Anna Wilson, as the Cardinal show up in the all-black jerseys, Pacific in their home whites.
Both teams will start in their man-to-man, and this is the best player for Pacific. Her name is Valerie Higgins. Number 22 in white. Keep your eye on her. She's a West Coast Conference first teamer.
Senior out of Grenada Hills, California, and one on the jumper from Kiana Williams. And a chance for a 4-point play.
As you're watching this game, Beth, watch the uncontested shots that Stanford gets by moving the ball, making the extra pass, especially their ability to skip in transition. And then watch how many contested shots teams have to take against their defense. That's an area that they have really improved in. Just good habits on both sides of the ball early.
4-point play for Williams, the senior out of San Antonio. It was announced this week that the NCAA may be taking the entire women's tournament to San Antonio this year, which was the expected site of the Final Four. As Pacific gets on the board, Leanna Tillman, the senior from right here in Stockton.
Good pass in transition. They skip, they run it hard and wide. Wide open and one. Get on the board early.
Got plenty of experience in their backcourt with Wilson and Williams. Belibi, the nice drop off, and the lay-in for Lexi Hull.
First game for Pacific. They haven't played yet, so this is their first chance, and of course going against the number 1 team. Nobody likes to do that.
Hull in transition, and a blocking foul will send Lexi to the line, an all Pac-12 performer last year.
You know, I think there's a measure of toughness in this Stanford team that we're seeing early on. Up the line, Lexi Hull with a great steal, with contact, eyes on the rim to draw the foul. And one of the things that Stanford is doing a really good job of this year is their free throw rate is excellent. They're getting to the line, and their points per possession are outstanding as well.
Lexi and her sister Lacey both on the Stanford roster playing for Tara.
I was at Pacific's practice yesterday, sitting high above the court, way away from with social distancing. And they spent a lot of time trying to learn how to attack quickly, how to try to score quickly before Stanford gets set in their defense.
Open look for Brooklyn McDavid, won't go, but the foul was there for Josephine Millard, the junior from France. And we'd like to welcome the new audience to Stanford and Pacific. The Cardinal out to the early lead, the top-ranked team in the country at 4-0. And with that 4th win on Sunday night against the Cal Bears, Coach Tara Vanderveer equaled the career wins record of Pat Summitt, and they now sit side by side, 1,098. And if the Cardinal can win this one, Tara stands atop the all-time list. Beth Mowens and Debbie Antonelli with you. And another nice look. Hull could not convert. Cleaned up nicely inside by Fran Belibi, the sophomore out of Centennial, Colorado. 42 years on the sideline for Tara, the last 35 on the farm. Nearly 950 wins just at Stanford alone. After she came out here in 1985 to ignite this Cardinal program and turn it into a national power for the last 3.5 decades. Pull up in the lane is good, Kiana Williams.
Well, the one thing that Stanford is so good at is moving the ball, finding the open shooter, reversing sides of the floor. And they did that there for Kiana Williams to be able to get a floater off in the middle.
One of the things that Tara credits for her success are all the lessons, not only that she's taught, Debbie, but that she's learned from other coaches and competing with Pat Summitt, high on her list over the years. They faced each other 29 times, Pat winning 22 of those, including the 2008 National Championship, which was Pat's final trophy. Tara got the win the last time they played each other in Pat's final season in December of 2011 out in Maples Pavilion.
A lot of people would call stealing a good idea, research. And I think that's what good coaches do, is keep their mind open. Big eyes, big ears, and a little mouth at the right time.
There are the wins. Pat, a shade better in terms of win percentage. Those 8 national championships.
It's pretty remarkable, the sustained excellence that you're able to maintain elite level play on both ends of the floor. And when you look at those numbers, what's staggering is if you look at over the course of her history, she's averaged 27 wins and 6 losses a season. That's remarkable.
It took her 5 years to get things rolling when she arrived at Stanford. And actually, she and Pat went back and forth for a 4-year stretch, winning national championships. 1989, 1990, 91, and 92, they went back and forth. And of course, Tara's first title in 1990 was in Pat's house, Thompson Bowling Arena, with Tennessee native Jennifer Azzi leading the charge.
Had a chance to talk to Jennifer Azzi today, who I think is the best player that she's had in Stanford's program, and got it all started. And Jennifer had some great stories, just the sustained success, the brilliance, and how smart Tara is. And you know, one of the stories she told Beth is, you know, her decision was between Stanford and Tennessee. And so that's when Tennessee and Stanford started playing, as Tara was bringing Jennifer back to the Tennessee area. Jennifer from Oak Ridge in Tennessee. And she said, you know, she didn't shoot the 3 a lot in her freshman year because the 3-point line didn't exist. It came in her sophomore year. And Tara, in Tara's way, was like, you know, well, 3s are more than 2, so I guess we should start shooting the 3 here. And Tara credited Jennifer for working really hard in the gym to be able to become a great 3-point shooter.
There's Kiana Williams with the 3. Yeah, this program was one of the first to really take advantage of that. And Jennifer started honing those skills over the summer when she was back home in Tennessee.
The other thing she said is that, you know, even though she chose Stanford over Pat at Pat Summitt, that when she would come back in the summers to work out, Coach Summitt gave her the keys to Thompson Bowling Arena, and anything she wanted, she could work out anytime she wanted with their facilities. She said Pat was class, and we all know that Pat was class.
Ashton Prechtel with the rebound there for the Cardinal. Williams with the nice cross in traffic, couldn't put it down.
I would say lethargic start for Stanford, even though they have the lead. You know, they did get stuck in some traffic coming over from Berkeley. There was an accident on the interstate. They arrived an hour and a half before the game. And Coach Vanderveer told us before the game she was concerned about how her team would start based on not having a chance to get a lot of shots up today.
They have not played at home or practiced at home in a while, and actually they do not know for certain when they will be able to play a game at Maples, yet to be determined. And the score inside, Rosie Schweitzer, the redshirt freshman from Australia, as the Tigers hang around early.
Media coming, Penny.
Touchdown lead early on for Stanford on what could be a momentous night for their head coach, Tara Vanderveer.
Here comes Beliebe. Fran Beliebe, you better believe it, baby! A sophomore with a slam dunk tonight here in Berkeley. I felt it. Felt that one coming, didn't you, Mayor? I did. Well done. Had a feeling on a big night. Tara has pulled into a tie with Pat here tonight in Berkeley. Win number 1098 in the head coaching career of Tara Vanderveer.
That was Sunday night against the Cal Bears. Tara and Pat Summitt now side by side with 1,098 wins. Gino Auriemma added another win to his total. He is a handful behind. And we welcome you to the University of Pacific. Beth Mowins, Debbie Antonelli. You know, the numbers speak for themselves on Tara's resume with the 42 seasons, just one of them a losing record, a gold medal, the 2 national championships. But even more impressive, Debbie, the impact that Tara has had on the game and the hundreds of student athletes that have come under her tutelage.
You're absolutely right, Beth. The numbers are remarkable, and it's absolutely about her brilliance. It's about the treat that we're going to get to watch tonight, that this is a team that is #1 in the country. They're a great reflection of how she's taught decades of young women, because it's always been just about a ball, about a hoop, and about teaching young women the game of basketball with her incredible passion and her great gift as an educator. It's going to be fun to watch this play out coming off this timeout.
And one underneath. Cameron Brink, the 6'4" freshman from Beaverton, Oregon.
Cameron Brink getting her first minutes tonight, and it's just a nice job of playing in the high-low game. Stanford likes to run a lot of their offense through the elbows, which we would call the pinch. And they have a lot of versatility in players with skill sets that they can move around. Tara Vanderveer has a lot of weapons on the offensive end to utilize.
Hoop Girls listed her as the #3 recruit coming out of high school. And she joins the likes of Haley Jones, who was the #1 recruit a couple years ago. And Fran Beliebe, who we just saw dunking in that highlight reel from Sunday.
Tell you what, head coach Bradley Davis at Pacific's got to be pleased with the start for his team. I mean, they're only a few possessions down. They're hanging with the Cardinal right now. This is their first game.
Yeah, they've had a host of cancellations. Bradley Davis now in his 6th season. Last year 17 and 14.
He's the son of a diplomat, worked for the State Department, did his high school education in Switzerland, and he was a guy that was found in the gym at Cal when he was a student by Denise Curry, the great All-American from UCLA, who brought him to the scout team for Coach Gooch Foster at Cal. That's where he got to start. It's pretty remarkable. Stanford comes off the timeout, and usually their ATO or their after timeout percentage is very high. Score back-to-back buckets inside. I think Pacific is doing a really good job of getting back in transition.
Right here, White. Substitute coming on now, Hannah Jump, the 6' sophomore from San Jose for the Cardinal. And for the Tigers, Jordan Cruz, junior out of Sacramento. 10-point lead for Stanford. Minute and a half to go here in the first quarter. And a turnover back to the Cardinal. Well, tomorrow it's a men's college basketball doubleheader on ESPN and on the app. Freshman phenom Cade Cunningham and 6-0 Oklahoma State start Big 12 play against 5-2 TCU. That's at 7 o'clock, followed by Duke and Notre Dame as they get underway in the ACC. Jump comes off the bench as the shooter misses on her first attempt. Williams no good. Hannah able to track it down.
Stanford not able to knock down some threes, but they're on the O boards. And there's Haley Jones with a nice offensive rebound and finish inside.
Haley gets her first bucket. She has started out so well with a couple of 20-point performances, a couple of double-doubles. And is really locked in, Debbie, after a disappointing freshman season due to her injury that sidelined her for the second half of the year.
Yeah, look at that pass. I mean, she's an incredible facilitator, and when she defensive rebounds, they really get up the floor in their transition game.
Terrific feed there by Haley.
She can see over the top of most defenders with her size. Her vision is terrific in the full court.
Williams down on the deck trying for the steal. And she'll be whistled for the foul. Here's Haley in action.
She can score on a closeout. She does a great job getting to the basket. Crafty finish around the rim. And then look at this drop down pass. Nice cut to the bucket by Lacey Hull.
feet inside. Shot will not fall from McDavid, and there is the first quarter of play, and the Stanford Cardinal jumping out to the 26-12 lead. Tara, it's got the megaphone working early here at the University of Pacific, trying to guide her troops to win 10-99. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pandora. Listen to music from uninterrupted radio, only on Pandora. Oh, cutting down the nets after winning national championships, Tara Vanderveer, Pat Summitt. Friends and competitors throughout their careers. Gino Auriemma's cut those nets down more than anybody, 11 times with the UConn Huskies. He's also a member of that 1,000-win club. Heard from Gino today. And his thoughts on tonight's big night. You know, Pat and Tara share a lot of similarities, both very driven, very detail-oriented and disciplined. That's how Tara coaches, and she really hasn't changed much in all the years I've known her. That's quite remarkable, really, when you think about the success over the years that she has had. You know, Debbie, the strategy may be a little different year in and year out, but not the way that she operates things on that sideline and in the gym.
It could be the triangle. It could be 5 out. It could be some Princeton. It doesn't matter what it is. She figures it out with her personnel, and to sustain that level of excellence for all these decades is absolutely remarkable. And when your peers like Gino give you that kind of praise, that absolutely means something.
Gino with 1,093 wins, picked up another one. We'll share the thoughts of some of the other legends of the game throughout the evening, as we've been able to reach out and hear from some folks. I know you had a chance to chat with Kim Mulkey.
Yeah, Coach Mulkey says, you know, Tara brings honor to the game, brought national recognition to the Pac-12 before other programs, really committed, and her coaching and her class say it all. Much respect being shared across the women's basketball world today for Coach Vanderveer.
Mulkey with multiple championships at Baylor, a former Olympian herself.
And going into the Naismith Hall of Fame.
Yes, where she will
in the next class
join Tara, who is in both the Naismith and the Women's Basketball Halls of Fame.
Baylor with a big win last night, beat Texas Tech by 50 at home. That's a lot of size on the front line to deal with.
Cardinal trying to get to 5-0, and Pacific their first game of the year, repping the West Coast Conference. We've gotten accustomed to seeing the likes of Gonzaga and BYU make some good runs over the years in the women's tournament out of the WCC.
WCC has some really good teams, Beth. Gonzaga has picked to win the league. Lisa Fortier and her staff have won 16 West Coast Conference championships. Of course, you know, this year the league's got a lot of talent. 8 of the 10 first-teamers from last year return, so there's some depth here in the West Coast Conference.
As we've already seen, your ability to adapt and change on the fly going to be crucial to teams' success and their ability to deal with COVID and everything surrounding it from a logistics standpoint, and first and foremost, safety.
How about the toughness and the scrappiness of Pacific? I mean, I watched him practice yesterday, and, you know, Bradley Davis does an excellent job in his 6th year. Hardworking, great temperament. His staff is outstanding. They did a terrific job getting ready. But, you know, it's somewhat about Stanford and the #1 team coming into play, but mostly you haven't had a game yet, so it's pretty much about yourself right now.
The program has 4 top 25 wins. They have faced the top-ranked team a couple of times, Stanford in 2012, UConn in 2010. They get the bucket inside. Brooklyn McDavid, the senior out of Studio City, California. Kiana Williams, hard off the back iron. Belibi attacking the glass in this first half. It'll stay with Stanford.
Stanford 2 for 9 outside the three-point line, and they've had some really good looks. And Tara Vanderveer, you know, the one thing she said about the Cal game is she said, we didn't play well. And of course, she always we'll talk about the other team having something to do with whether they play well or not. But, you know, I think it's really, as Higgins gets a steal here. 2 years ago, she was the West Coast Conference Defensive Player of the Year, and she's a preseason first-teamer. But here's what Tara does. She's got the last 10 years of Final Four teams, and she's put the average together on the math on 12 different goals per game for her team. And she said in the Cal game, they only accomplished 3 of those 12. So when you take an average of what it takes to get to the Final Four, and you look at all these different metrics, it's very interesting that she would be forward-thinking like that about what this team needs to do to get ready.
Always wanting to know more. That started at a very young age when she was still playing at Indiana as Pacific hits the 3.
Well, if I'm a coach listening to this game right now, I'm taking a note on that, and I'm going to start looking up what those numbers are to show my own team.
Back-to-back buckets here for Belibi. But while she was playing for the Hoosiers and learning from her own coach, B. Gorton, she would also sneak into the men's practice and watch how the men's coach did it back in that day, one Robert Montgomery Knight. Hey, college football's conference championship weekend. Got a big lineup for you. Triple header on ABC. It starts at noon with the Big 12, then the ACC, and the American Championship. Highlighted by that Notre Dame-Clemson rematch. The Irish took the regular season matchup. And,
yeah, but Trevor Lawrence didn't play, and he's playing this weekend.
Everybody wants to underestimate Ian Book. Rebound.
Here's where they're Jones. This is where they're really dangerous, when Haley Jones rebounds. Again, Pacific doing a really good job of getting back and matching up quickly.
Jones, little step back, doesn't get the roll. Lexi Hull and Belibi collide, and it will go to Pacific. We got a timeout on the court here. 4 minutes into this second quarter, and a 32-21 Stanford lead. Back with more on the life and times of Tara after this.
John Brickley and Rebecca Lobo in the studio for the Pandora Halftime Report, coming up on the verge of history. Tara Vanderveer will talk about her legacy and the impact
of Pacific on a night where Tara Vanderveer can become the all-time career wins leader with 1,099 and move one in front of the legendary Tennessee Lady Vol head coach Pat Summitt. Beth Mullins, along with Debbie Antonelli, amongst her many wins at Stanford. There was that glorious 1995-96 season with Team USA and helping guide the Americans to the gold. We got a held ball before Belibi got the shot up there. It will stay with Stanford. Of course, one of the stars of that team was Dawn Staley, who's now tremendously successful head coach at South Carolina. I know you had a chance to talk with Dawn this week and get some of her thoughts. And it was really something that summer of '96 to see Team USA capture the gold medal after the bronze in 1992, and that was really the springboard for changes in Team USA. Get them on a run of 6 consecutive gold medals. Yeah, it still is moving today.
Beth, it was a remarkable time in the game, because if you go back to 1995, Rebecca Lobo and company winning the national championship changed the way the media viewed the women's game. And then Tara takes the '96 national team on a tour of the United States against collegiate programs, and that was remarkable. The men had the dream team. I think the women had the dream team as well. And you're right, I did talk to Dawn Staley, and Dawn just talked about how much the wins on the court matter. Yep, and it's just a number, but her impact on the game and young lives is immeasurable.
There is the resume in the Naismith and the Women's Basketball Hall of Fames in that '96 team. Of course, Rebecca Lobo was also on that team, fresh off the 95 national championship at UConn.
WNBA.
Rebecca likes to say Tara brought USA basketball back to their gold medal standard. That was really hard in terms of the travel, the expectations, all of the demand for Team USA playing in Atlanta in the United States. And Tara was the right person to meet those demands and set the standard for what USA basketball has become. That's from Rebecca.
Tara ain't no joke, that's why. I mean, you do things with a purpose. And, you know, we've been talking about how good their offensive and defensive habits have been. I don't think their offensive or defensive habits have been very good at all. I think Pacific has a lot to do with that early on. You know, Bradley Davis has his team ready to play.
They're going to inbounds here with just a second on the shot clock.
Belibi going out, where you would think you might get a lob to Belibi in the middle of the floor. Tara Vanderveer runs everything out of a box set, which makes it very challenging to scout. All baseline, all sideline out of bounds, out of a box set.
Open look from the corner. The three is good. Liana Tillman. We got a 4-point game, 3.5 to go here in the first half.
I mean, this is a Pacific team that went 17-14 last year, 9-9 in the league. But the 7 of their 9 losses last year, Beth, were by 2 or 3 possessions, so they were in a lot of games.
Now number 1 on the ropes here.
Well, if I know Tara, and I have studied her for a long time, she can't wait to get to halftime to get her team together and recollect. And there will be no mini megaphone when that happens. I think you'll be able to hear her with no problem.
Kiana Williams steps back. She's been the offensive threat here in the first half for the Cardinal.
When she needed a breakout game, she had not been shooting the ball that well and below her percentages from last year. And she's on every National Player of the Year watch list.
Rejected, Haley Jones. 3-on-2 for Stanford. And it's Anna Wilson. And the assist for Kiana Williams.
Yeah, I think Kiana Williams got a little swagger going right now. I mean, she looks like her old self. And when you see your leader clapping and communicating like that, that usually is infectious.
2 minutes to go in the first half. Wilson, the senior from Seattle, with the rebound. First year in the starting lineup. Had been a bench spark previous. And she'll get the assist there to Lexi Hull. As they jump out 41-30 in a 7-0 run for the Cardinal. Stanford on a nice little run to open things up as Tara Vanderveer looks on. 35th season with the Cardinal. Michelle Vopel, you know, does a great job covering the sport for ESPN.com. If you want some good water cooler chat, get on your social media. She ranks Tara's all-time top 10 players. She has Candace Wiggins in the top spot. And I think we both agree we would give Jennifer Azzi the vote.
I got Azzi. She was the first big recruit. She was the first to win the Wade. She was the first to help Tara to her first championship. I'm all about Jennifer Azzi being number 1, but Candace Wiggins was pretty good. I watched her drop 41 in an NCAA tournament game.
Yeah.
Wade Trophy winner as well in 2008.
Outstanding scorer. She and Nicole Powell really reinvigorated the program after the 96 Olympics and into the early 2000s. I got Val Whiting high on my list too. Not only a teammate of Jennifer's in the 90 championship season, but also the 92 championship season with the likes of Molly Goodenbauer.
Sonia Henning as well.
Rachel Hemmer.
I'll tell you what, I've got Azzi, Wiggins, and then I go Nneka over Chene. Sorry, Chene, but I just think Nneka just so impressive. Such a good field goal percentage, a go-to, and definitely could score in the pinch.
You may not be on Chanae's radio show tomorrow, but
okay.
Tara will be. She's scheduled ESPN radio with Chanae.
And then I like Katie Stedding, Olympian, part of that national championship team
Katie's
as well.
on the coaching staff.
And I like Kate Starbird as well. And Vanessa Nygaard was a really close, it was a really tough decision for me. Because if you were going to be someone that was going to be on the all-caper team, I would definitely have
she's
Vanessa
great
on
for
it.
team chemistry.
Yes, she is.
Keeping everybody loose. Pacific hanging around. Good off the screen for Rosie Schweitzer. Final minute of this first half.
And you know what, one more nugget on that, Beth, is, you know, Nicole Powell was really the triple-double machine before Sabrina Ionescu showed up.
Well, that's a whole other topic of discussion for the second half. Not only the success that Tara has provided Stanford, but how she has helped elevate the entire Pac-12 in the last 10 years.
You know, for the longest time, she waved the banner for Pac-12 hoops. And in the 90s, no one went to the Final Four more than the Stanford Cardinal. They went the most in the 90s of any team. And you know, Tara, again, sustained excellence. Always prepared. You're not going to out-coach her. And she's not going to over-coach her team.
There's your final 4 appearances in women's history. 20 for Connecticut, 18 for Tennessee, and then the 13 for Stanford. Tara gets credit for 12. Longtime assistant Amy Tucker actually coached the Cardinal to the Final Four when Tara was away with the Olympic team.
Holding for the last shot.
Tillman using the screen, offensive foul, and Stanford's going to get it back.
What a bad break right there for Pacific. Trying to gain a little momentum back, trying to get it to single digits going into the locker room, and to get that call off the ball. I like the extended pressure right here to take some time off the clock.
Will not fall for Ashton Prechtel, but Stanford will take the lead into the locker room. 43-32 at the half over Pacific. Tigers putting up a good fight. The swat by Haley Jones, the finish by Anna Wilson. 1 half closer to win, 10-99 for Tara Vanderveer. Welcome back to ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Pandora. 43-32, Stanford with the halftime lead over Pacific. Beth Mullins along with Debbie Antonelli, a very pesky Pacific squad in that first half. Debbie, perhaps some nerves on a big night for the Stanford Cardinal, and here's where Tara's at her best, right? Getting to work in the locker room.
Oh yeah, Beth, no question about it. To be able to go and regroup, to be able to reset the mind. I'm sure there's a little pressure. There's some measure of not wanting to disappoint on this big night. So I expect Stanford to come out and really play well. But on the other side, how about how gritty and tough Pacific has shown to be in their very first game going against the #1 team in the country?
Yeah, they're trying to prevent the party tonight. Of course, Tara Vanderveer, a chance to take over the top spot all-time in wins. Kiana Williams was the bright spot offensively for Stanford, 9 points in that first half.
No, Kiana Williams really needed to get going. As I mentioned earlier, her numbers and percentages below what she was last year, and this is the kind of spark you need. You want to be an elite team, you need your veteran players to step forward, and she is doing that on the road tonight with an opportunity to make history. But on the other side, look at what Pacific's done. They have picked apart the defense. They've got 32 points on what I thought was a much improved Stanford defense, and I expect the second half to be a much different tempo.
Tara, of course, said her piece, certainly in the locker room as you check out the numbers. For Coach Vanderveer, the demeanor rarely changes on that sideline. The look, always the same. Classic, comfortable, consistent, confident. Foul on the drive. Over the course of her 42-year career, her preference, Debbie, has been a quieter pursuit of perfection on the farm, where she's been for the last 35 of those seasons.
Remarkably subtle in her delivery, incredible poise.
Real wry sense of humor.
Smart.
She'll zing ya.
Smart, yeah, really.
Zing ya a little bit.
Really enjoy spending time with her, and you know, today she got in the pool, she got her swimming in this morning. You know, she plays bridge every day. She got a game of bridge in with her mother, Rita, who's 93, who's at home listening with her Bluetooth hearing aids.
Nice.
So she doesn't miss a word of what you say today, Mullins, because if you mess up, Rita's going to let Tara know after the game.
I will try and be on my best. Well, you touched on some of it, you know, philanthropist, water skier, tactician, piano player, a friend and a competitor to so many, and above all, coach of the Cardinal. And that bucket is good for Lexi Hull.
It's dangerous to open up the floor against Stanford. When I say that, it means any kind of three-quarter to half-court pressure because of their three-point shooting on the backside makes them really dangerous. And when she rebounds, Haley Jones, this is when I think they're at their best as well.
Basket is good, and a foul on the floor. On the drive by Anna Wilson, that was dangerous. She had a body at her feet.
And because she tripped over a player on the floor, that's a foul, I guess. I hadn't seen that before, but Melissa Barlow called it a foul, so it must be.
Thought maybe the charge was on the previous contact in the lane. At any rate, Anna to the line. Former high school All-American from a very athletic family. Enjoying her time in the starting lineup this year for the Cardinal. Pacific tries to work it down on the low block. Haley Jones snagged it.
I mean, like a guard, Beth.
Yep.
Look
From
at
post to point, Debbie, there she goes. That's one of the things, too, you come to appreciate over the years, the versatility of the Cardinal student athlete. And we talked a little bit in the first half who would be on their all-time lineup, and you mentioned some tremendous athletes. Kristen Fokel comes to mind, who played both basketball and volleyball. You had Kate Starbird. You know, they've had to overcome not only some really good times, but some tough stretches. That 97 team that a lot of people thought would have won a national championship, disappointed in the national semis. And the 98 team, the late season knee injuries to Kristen Fokel and Vanessa Nygaard. Lost a shot at the title and lost to the 16 seed Harvard. And through it all, the perseverance of Tara and her staff and the players.
well, the doctors and the lawyers and the professionals. And just in our game, like Christy Hedgepeth, who is COO of the WNBA, or Bethany Donovan, who's head of league operations for the WNBA. And then, of course, there's the great Charlie Turner-Thorne, the head coach at Arizona State, who played for Tara and actually has the second most wins in the Pac-12 behind her former head coach.
They've had success. Arizona is one of the new kids on the block, up-and-comers. We touched on it in the first half. In the last 10 years, 4 other Pac-12 programs, Oregon, Oregon State, Washington, and Cal, have all reached the Final Four. They may have the best league this year in college basketball.
They could. You know, I think the Big Ten is very solid. I think the Big Ten has incredible balance. Indiana picked to win that league ahead of Maryland. But Maryland will be there at the end. ACC with Louisville and NC State are a couple of Final Four caliber teams. Jeff Walls has an outstanding team. And, of course, Wes Moore and NC State, you mentioned earlier, knocked off the #1 team early this season in South Carolina. And then the SEC, you've got Dawn Staley in South Carolina. Do not sleep on Gary Blair in Texas A&M. Kyra Elzy just got named the head coach, removing the interim tag for Kentucky, and Ryan Howard is one of the ticket-selling players in America that you have to see for Kentucky.
Of course, Kyra, a former Pat protege as well. Played for Coach Summit. Jumper is good from Wilson. There's the new AP poll, by the way. Louisville, UConn, and NC State all garnering first-place votes. the bulk of those going to Stanford.
Stanford switching some in their man-to-man.
And one.
I mean, Fran Belibi's going to say that's the second time I had a call with that 6'8" reach of hers. Watch the pass go in. Where's the foul? I see no foul or contact on that play at all. That's the second call that she's gotten on the floor. The first one I let go, the second one. And so that forces Tara Vanderveer to have to sub Fran Belibi and put her on the bench.
David in and out. Rebounded by Cameron Brink.
And one of the adjustments out of halftime is Haley Jones initiating all offense on the top of the floor. Look at that handle. That's a block. You know, during halftime, Delisha Milton-Jones, who is the cousin to Haley Jones, sent me a little text about how excited she is to watch her cousin play. You know, and of course, Delisha ties into that Olympic team with
Couple
Tara.
of golds. Former star at the University of Florida.
You know, Delisha Milton-Jones won the Wade Trophy. I wonder if her cousin could ever win it. I don't know if cousins have ever won the Wade Trophy.
That's a possibility.
Or the Naismith Trophy.
Jones can't knock that one down. They'll swing it back around to Haley. Jumper won't go, and a foul on the floor on the weak side as Wilson went in for the rebound. It'll be on Jordan Cruz.
It's weird not having any fans, isn't it? Like, they can hear us, and we're way up on the balcony, but I think they might be able to hear us up here. It's awesome to be here, though.
A game that was supposed to be at Maples Pavilion, actually last week, if the schedule had held according to plan. And certainly the preference would have been to have a house full of family and friends at Maples to take it all in. The virus has had other plans. And so just like Tara's teams over the years, her players adapt and try and make the most of it. Wilson held up on the drive. She's leading the way right now with 12 points.
A much more aggressive Stanford team out of the locker room. Nice drop down inside to Brooklyn McDavid. One of those preseason West Coast Conference first teamers and a returner from last year. And Brooklyn's got herself a 31-inch vertical, so she's got some hops around the block playing undersized.
Wilson hits on the first free throw. Of course, the sister of Seattle quarterback Russell Wilson.
At the 37-second mark in the third quarter of the Washington game, Beth.
Mark it down, folks. Check it out.
Watched Anna come roll to the right and fire a strike down the right sideline.
Oh, a little bootleg. And
oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was beautiful.
Looked like a tight spiral from Russell.
See, now Haley Jones is playing in the pinch. Look at this. Too tough to handle. Okay, that spot of the floor, that piece of real estate, the elbows or inside what Tara runs called the pinch. A lot of people refer to it the pinch. That piece of real estate is really tough to defend. And look at how she can score on a closeout against a quick athletic defender. With that big, strong body, gets all the way to the rim to earn a trip to the free throw line.
It's fun to talk to Tara about the evolution of the game. You know, we asked her what she used to run with AZ in the early days, and she said, we didn't run anything, we just literally ran. Those guys were so good on the break, they'd get up the floor, they'd make a couple of passes, and we'd score. And, of course, over the years, some Princeton,
some triangle,
depending on the personnel.
I think they've been a much better defensive team this year early on. I mean, here's what I'm talking about in terms of defense. Like, really good defensive habits, almost non-negotiables on the defensive end. And one of them right here is ball pressure. Every defender for Stanford has one hand high on the ball handler, okay? They all jump to the ball. They all look for a closeout consistently, and they'll do it for 40 minutes. And to sustain that level and that level of expectation, it's probably one of the goals of those 12 goals that Tara Vanderveer has put together for her team.
Well, the fundamentals are there. You know, she doesn't have to worry about those once the season gets going. They are so well prepared and well coached to take care of all the little things. Shot clock winding down. Good defensive effort there for the Cardinal.
Conversely, for Stanford, very rarely do you see a late shot clock opportunity, you know, because they move the ball so well. They get early offense. They get early shots before they get deep into the shot clock.
They got numbers here, a 4-on-3. Wilson off the cross, behind the back pass. Shot won't go for Brink. Williams, deep three ball, got it.
A much more inspired Stanford second half. And you know that behind the back pass that Cameron Brink missed? That's what you call a coach's assist, Beth. Because when Coach Vanderveer watches that on film tomorrow, even though it's not an assist on the stat sheet, the coach gives you an assist. You did the right thing. You did your job. They got to finish.
And one on the drive for Haley Jones.
Well, I've been to enough Stanford practices and have studied coach enough to know that you have got to dribble with a purpose. And that's exactly what Haley Jones does on her way to the rim.
Our next NBA preseason matchup features the Golden State Warriors and the Kings from Sacramento, Thursday, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific on ESPN. Amongst the many fans and friends of Tara, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr.
Over the years, and I've always loved her sort of understated presence. You know, she's understated, but she's clearly in charge. When you're in the room with her, you feel like, okay, yeah, she's the boss, but she doesn't need to yell and scream. It's more just poise and knowledge, and the players feel that. And then she just keeps churning out these great teams year after year. So she's pretty remarkable.
Impressive from the Warriors head coach, and you know, you hear when you talk about Tara, and even today, texts from coaches around the country that are watching the game, and they all have their own Tara stories, and the personality behind the mask, Debbie, and the way that she shares knowledge and gives knowledge so freely with other coaches, and wants to soak up as much as she possibly can.
Well, she's an ultimate teacher and student of the game, and every Pac-12 coach recently, in Michelle Smith's article, which was terrific, gave props to all the things that Tara has meant to them, how she cares about the game, not just her own program, how she develops these young women into leaders for the future.
And a big proponent of women in coaching. You know, she has the Tara Fund with the Women's Sports Foundation for the advancement of women in coaching. Wants to get more young girls and young women into the field. You can make a donation if you'd like. Go to the Women's Sports Foundation and check out the Tara Vanderveer Fund. That's a big part, giving back to the game, also giving back to the community, Debbie.
Yeah, and one of the things tonight, pending the outcome of this game and a win, but when Tara does get 1099, which looks like she's on her way, she told me today that she wanted to make sure something good came out of it, and in very classy Tara form, she is donating $10 for every win. That's $10,990 to the local food bank in her community, because she feels that strongly about helping people that need food. 1 out of 6 Americans, she says, go hungry. And you know what? Tara used to be on food stamps. Tara Vanderveer was on food stamps her first year as an assistant coach at Ohio State University.
Wasn't picking up a paycheck.
She didn't get paid anything, and she was on food stamps. So you can tell that she's come full circle with her attitude in that particular philanthropy. It's really impressive.
Passionate about what she does on and off the court. Haley Jones filling the lane, assist Lexi Ho. A native of New England, raised in upstate New York, educated in the Midwest, and like so many ambitious Americans before her, Tara found opportunity on the West Coast, Debbie. 35 years now at Stanford.
And Andy Geiger offered her the job 5 years after her time at Ohio State. She said no. And then he called her and said, why? And she said, I don't feel like I know it very well. So he brought her back out there. And Brooks Johnson, the track coach, the women's track coach, who was a 1984 Olympic coach, said, you know what, I'm going to give you a campus tour. And Tara said, you don't have to give me a tour. And Coach Johnson said, no, I have to. I am told that I can't finish the campus tour until you say yes. And Tara told me today, of all the people in her lives, he is her soulmate. And we know he's listening and watching tonight as well.
So instrumental in forging this relationship between Tara and Stanford. And like so many of us, loved the game, Debbie, but wasn't quite sure if that was in the cards for her future. Wasn't quite sure if that was the path she wanted to take, and it was actually her dad and her sister who intervened.
I mean, it's great. You know, Tara graduates from Indiana and wants to go to law school, so she's going to take a year off, right? A lot of kids want to do this.
Backpack.
Yeah. She goes to Hilton Head and she sailboat races all summer. That's what she does. And then she runs out of money at Christmas time, goes home, and her dad says,
a lot of us know this story.
Yeah, right. Well, what are you going to do? And she said nothing. You know, he's like, no, you're going to coach your sister Marie's basketball team. Tara said, no, I'm not. He said, yes, you are. Tara said, I said, okay, I'll coach.
And guess what else? They're not very good.
Yeah. The game before she started coaching, they lost 99-11. She remembered the score. She took over and she coached the team, and then when she would go home, Marie wasn't getting a lot of playing time. And so the parents were like, hey, how come you're not playing my daughter?
Even back then, parents were like that.
Yes. And Tara said, well, she doesn't play any defense and she really doesn't shoot it very well. Sorry about that, Marie. We had to rat out your basketball skills. But, I mean, what a close family, right? Tara's the oldest. Then you've got Beth, who's a professor at Ohio University. We see on the road a lot with Rita, her mother. And then you got Marie, and then you got brother Nick, and then, of course, Heidi, who everyone in women's basketball knows, the great Heidi Van de Veer, and all the things that she idolizes, what Tara has meant to her in her career. Idolizes her sister, and that's pretty cool.
And don't forget the four-footed ones.
Oh, yeah, then the three dogs, Piper, Enzo, and Rainey. That's a big part of Tara's life. If I had left them off the list as family, I would have been in big trouble.
Cardinal are starting to feel it here in the third. Lexi Hull after the Hannah jumper just prior.
You know, you look at Tara, she's over 60. She water skis every day in the summer when she's at her home in Lake Chautauqua. She bikes, she swims. You know, she usually swims at Stanford with Katie Ledecky and Simone Manuel. I mean, it's pretty amazing. You know, she said she got an email from Katie that said, hey, congrats on going for the record, accomplishing. And, you know, Tara's like, yeah, well, Katie, I guess you know something about records. You know, I mean, just so subtle, her humor.
She said at times it's been overwhelming. She's received so many phone calls and texts. She's like, I felt at one point that somebody had written my number on the bathroom wall. For a tutorial in women's college basketball, call.
She said one of the texts she got was from a number she didn't recognize, and she was very gracious. Thank you so much for, you know, the kind words. And who is this? And oh, it's Billie Jean King.
Let's add that to the contacts. Pressure is a privilege. Plan, by the way, is for Tara to appear with Scott Van Pelt later tonight. And as we mentioned, with Chinea Gwumake on ESPN Radio tomorrow. Look at the ball movement.
Yeah.
Hardly touches
Beautiful.
the floor, and one.
Beautiful. I mean, the passes are into the shooting pocket. They're crisp. You can see they take a lot of pride in that. part of the game. Cameron Brink works from the high post down to the low block. Excellent footwork by her on the inside.
And we've talked a lot about family, and of course at Stanford a lot of celebrities around and a lot of famous folks. Cameron actually very good friends with Seth Curry and his family. Their parents were fast friends in their younger days, and actually Del and Sonia are the godparents of Cameron Brink. And as you can see by the photos, has spent some time with the Curry boys.
Well, you know that Cameron can shoot it, right? I mean, she has a beautiful stroke, three-point range with that 6'4" frame. Another player with handles, and she misses the front, off the front iron.
She's their second leading scorer in the early part of the season behind Haley. Final minute of this third quarter. There's Brink making the defensive play.
Outlet to 6'1" Haley Jones motoring up the floor.
Showing off that handle, finding jump. Gets her own miss.
The one thing Haley Jones doesn't do well yet is shoot the three. I think that's a part of her game she could add, but look how she can invert to the block against a smaller defender.
Stanford can hold for one. Jones gets into the lane, floats in and out. Three quarters complete, and Stanford with the 79-47 lead over Pacific. Inching closer to history for Tara Vanderveer. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Pandora. Listen to music from uninterrupted radio, only on Pandora. So many players over the years, All-Americans, Wade Trophy winners, Olympians, sister connections, all a big part of the Stanford family under Tara Vanderveer and her 35 years on the farm. Tied with Pat Summitt, 1,098 career wins. Competing with some of the best in the business over the years. As we start the fourth quarter, Fran Belibi working down low. It's a night that you wish was filled to the rafters with friends and family and Stanford Cardinal fan at Maples Pavilion. But I think, Debbie, you can sense the spirit of so many legendary coaches over the years. Time to get out the Google machine for the youngsters and start researching some of these names. You think of all the great coaches that would be and are thrilled for Tara's accomplishment dating back to the AIAW days. Margaret Wade, Kathy Rush, all those great coaches out of Philadelphia, Teresa Grentz, Renee Portland, Marianne Stanley. Into the 70s and 80s, Sonia Hogan, Leon Barmore, Jody Conrad and Marcia Sharp used to run the state of Texas. And out on the West Coast before Tara, Linda Sharp and Billy Moore ran the West Coast back in those days. In the Midwest, Lynn Dunn and Jim Foster. Bill Fenley, Wendy Larry, lifetimes of service to the game. Some of Pat's old rivals out of the SEC, Debbie. Sue Gunner, Van Chancellor, Andy Landers in our studio. Joe Champy, Gary Blair. You know the heyday of the ACC. Kay Yao, Sylvia Hatchell, Chris Weller, Debbie Ryan, Gail Gestenkors. Tara's second national championship in 1992 when the small schools were still going to the Final Four. The likes of Cheryl Burnett, Paul Sanderford. And how about the contemporaries? 1,000-game winner Barbara Stevens at Bentley. Muffet McGraw, Harry Peretta, Robin Selvig, Brenda Fries. How about some of those still going strong, Debbie? Lisa Bluter, Doug Bruno, Joe McEwen, C. Viv at Rutgers, and of course Gino, who's still just a handful of games behind Tara. It's going to be fun to watch their rivalry as they continue to move forward. And the Olympic assistant coaches in '96 that included the late Nancy Darsh and Marianne Washington and Seal Berry.
Whew. Wow. What an incredible list of accomplished. Most of those people, Hall of Famers or future.
All here in spirit tonight with Tara.
Barbara Stevens going into the Naismith Hall of Fame with Kim Mulkey, we mentioned earlier. A lot of dedicated service to the game. And back then, when you're talking about the 70s and 80s, it was about the team. It wasn't about me. And it was about making the game better and how they could come collectively together to grow the game and continue to push the game forward.
And that was only at the Final Four. Those were the only games you got to see on TV. You had to go live and in person.
I remember Kim Mulkey in those little cornrows with those little pigtails running down the back of her neck and dropping dimes.
Yep. Of course, her reach far and wide includes Dawn Staley, who she coached on that 96 Olympic team. Dawn, now a national championship coach herself. Utmost respect for Tara and this achievement.
I think when Tara calls, you answer. You drop what you're doing and you take some time. And she told me today that tomorrow she's already got her swim time scheduled in the pool, and
the
that
sun's gonna rise, right?
She'll be the same person tomorrow that she is today. And you know, I've often heard Gino remark about the same thing. It won't change my life, some of these accomplishments that happen, but it might change the lives of my players. That's very impressive.
Well executed on the offensive end. Beliebe to Brink. Can they get to the 100-point mark for the third time this year? Debbie, I think you have some insight on how much Tara likes that particular number.
She likes 100 points. They're averaging 94.
Pretty efficient offensively.
And they had a very slow start in the first quarter. And a lot of that had to do with Pacific bringing a game that was ready to compete. They had 32 points in the first half. They've had 17 here in the second. So the Stanford defense and their transition game showed up.
Beliebe from Haley Jones.
And you know, it's a cumulative effect, Beth. It's the size, it's the vision, it's the running the floor hard every time. It's good habits over and over, holding each other accountable to those good habits.
Three-pointer is good from Leanna Tillman. Of course, the other undeniable presence in the building tonight, Debbie, would be that of Pat Summitt. Taken away from us way too soon. Winner of 8 national championships and retired from the game in 2012. Just think of it. It's been 9 years for somebody else to catch her. And all the wins that she and the Lady Vols would have experienced.
You know, as Stanford creeps up on this number and Tara gets closer, last week when I was talking to her, she's like, you know, if Pat was still with us, this would be an unreachable number. You know, you could tack maybe 120, 130 more wins on what number stood for Pat, that it would be unreachable for Tara, and she recognizes that. And she has great admiration and respect. She learned a lot from Pat, and when you compete against the best, it makes you better.
Well, you've probably seen some of her conversation about Pat this week. The last time they faced each other at Maples Pavilion in 2011, and the final season of Pat's career with Tennessee, told Tara how much she loved her and how much she loved competing against her, how much she enjoyed their friendship over the years. They didn't have to play each other every year, but they both loved matching wits. They both loved the opportunity to put their players head to head, see what they were made of early in the season, and always helped them later in the year.
Well, she certainly understands excellence and knows what elite means. And she's coached it for a long time. And think about doing that at Stanford, where you don't get academic exceptions. One of the things she was proud about is the Hull twins are 3.9. Cameron Brink's a 4.0. I mean, are you kidding me? They're getting those grades at Stanford? Come on. It would take me a couple of semesters together to get a 3.9 at Stanford.
I I would love to fire a shot across your bow, but I promised Kay Yao, bless her heart, that I would not say anything negative about your studies. So in Kay's honor, I will refrain. But you know I got some good ones.
You know, I mean, I'm proud of this one academic achievement, since we're talking academics in the realm of Stanford. I did my thesis in grad school, and I didn't go to the library, and it was before the internet. Think about it.
The Dewey Decimal System, I believe.
Think about what I said. And you know, the other thing too, Beth, about being here is such.
Did you do it on Tara?
No, I did it on the change in the basketball from the big ball to the small ball. You know,
also came along during Tara's career.
So did the three-point line.
Yes.
You know, one of the things today about being here, Beth, is it's always great to call games with you, and it's special to be around Tara and spend time with her, and leading up to this game, all the conversations on the phone. But you know, there's a lot of media like us that don't get to be here tonight because of the pandemic. So a big shout out to those in the Bay Area that have covered Tara. Michelle Smith and Jane McCauley and Ann Killian and Joan Ryan, just to name a few outstanding writers and personalities in our game. And then of course our colleagues at the Pac-12 Network.
Yeah.
I had a chance to speak to Mary Murphy today, and
Kate Scott, who had the call on Sunday.
And all of our friends there on the Pac-12 Network.
Last thing really is, you know, to look at Tara as they will get the, no, they won't get the lay in there. To be a part of really the tipping point in women's college basketball. Outstanding pass from Hull to Belibi for two. But you look at 1995, UConn goes undefeated and wins the national championship. Changed the way that women's basketball was covered, especially by us at ESPN in particular. Then the following season, 1996, after Olympic disappointment 4 years earlier, Tara gets the 96 Olympics, which then begat in 1997 the WNBA, and basketball has not been the same since. Back in a moment. Fran Belibi on Sunday against the Cal Bears, the breakaway and the throwdown. Put the finishing touches on win number 1,098 for Tara Vanderveer.
I saw some video of her today jumping over two campers at Stanford camp and dunking over these two little kids. One of them was Kate Pay's daughter, the assistant coach, the other Vanessa Nygaard's daughter. I mean, pretty cool video.
You're now in the dunking sorority, Fran, with Candace Parker and Lisa Leslie, Brittany Griner, just to name a few. Under 4 minutes to go on this historic night. So glad that we could be here to bring it to you in our socially distanced world. And a huge shout out to a lot of folks behind the scenes at ESPN helping to make this happen in our basketball department, from Michael Schiffman and David Seisler to Pat Lowry, Linda Schulz, Kerry Callahan, and the godmother of college basketball on the television side, Carol Stiff, who's going into the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame next spring. Moving mountains to get us on the air tonight and to allow you to share this moment and celebrate with Tara Vanderveer.
Carol Stiff, a Hall of Famer going into the class of 21 in the Women's Basketball Hall of Fame. A lot of work in a very short time to be able to pull this together for us all to be here. And we're so excited to be here to bring it to you. It's been fun, Beth. It's been really fun. Yep. Cool night.
Dominic Vargas, another guy who handles so many things behind the scenes for us.
You know, I've been very fortunate in my career so far that I've been able to call Pat Summitt's win number 900 and 1,000. I've been able to call Jody Conrad's win number 900, which was her last win before she retired. And then, of course, Gino Auriemma, his 1,000 win. Muffet McGraw, 700. A couple of milestones for Sylvia Hatchell. Vivian Stringer in her 50th year coaching at Iowa and Rutgers. There's been a lot of incredible milestones in our game, and it's really awesome to be here tonight to reflect on Pat, who has touched all of our hearts in the game, and Tara's incredible legacy in leading young women and pushing the game forward every opportunity she gets.
Started in 1978 at the University of Idaho with a 5-year stint at Ohio State and then to Stanford in 1985.
You just wonder what Tara's thinking about, besides how am I going to get my team better for the next game, you know, because I know that's in her mind, but it's been an emotional couple of days for her with her team on the road. Winning at Cal, of course, and then putting the final touches on this one.
One of the most moving things of the week for her, a friend sent a video that she had never seen before of her father watching Tara coach the United States in the Olympic gold medal game in 1996. Had never seen it before and was so emotionally moved to watch her dad's reaction to her success.
He couldn't be there with her because he was battling cancer, and it's been 23 years since her dad passed, and she thinks about him every day. And she got a chance to see this video of him celebrating, even with a bottle of champagne, her winning the 96 Olympic gold medal.
Still coaching them up. Final minute, they've gone over the 100-point mark. 81% of the time that she's had her Cardinal on the court, she's gone home happy with a win. Team is still up on its feet, cheering their teammates. And the #1 team in the country will improve to 5-0.
She's remarked all year about how fun this team is to coach, how much she's enjoyed being around them, and to accomplish this milestone with this group will definitely be very special to her, as many other wins have been really important with many greats in the history of our game at Stanford.
The opportunity to build a legacy teaching life lessons and to reach the summit of her profession. Tonight, Tara stands on top. Passing Pat Summit, win number 1,099, and the new career wins leader. Celebrating with her team as she moves into the top spot on the all-time list. And it looks like she's got a new jacket to put on. T-Dog, apparently.
First class of Pacific to hand her the game ball. Looks like Kiana Williams is going to take care of it for her right now. What a great team win. 104 points, impressive. Third time this season over the 100-point mark, and what a special moment for Coach Vanderveer and Stanford.
We hope to have Tara joining us momentarily here, and then she'll be on schedule to appear with Scott Van Pelt later tonight. You can catch her with Shanae and Mike Golick on ESPN Radio tomorrow to follow up. Let's see if we can get Tara's attention and get her over on the microphone. And so we spin the dial, and the new leaderboard looks like this. Tara, 1,099, one up on Pat. Gino Auriemma at 1,093 after UConn won earlier today. On the men's side, you're talking about Mike Krzyzewski and Jim Boeheim, the only ones that have reached the 1,000 win mark, such heights at the highest level in their sport. And as we get Tara mic'd up, down on the court.
Thanks for coming out here, Beth and Debbie.
Oh, our pleasure, Coach. Can you share with America the T-Dog tape reference that you just got?
Well, where'd my, this is, it was a gift from the team. Fran had this beautiful warm jacket, and I kept telling her I would take one, and so that's kind of a nickname that Key calls me T-Dog, and I think the rest of the team, and Haley. So it's, it's really sweet, but, I'm really glad that our team played well. Pacific, I thought, played really hard. They're very aggressive, and they're going to have a great year. But our team has really, I think they stepped up, especially in the second half. We got things going.
On this night of nights, Tara, who comes to mind? Your background, your history, your love and passion of this game. Who are you sharing this moment right now with and your thoughts?
Well, I wasn't sure I was going to be talking about anything in the beginning of the game, but I'm really happy. I think, first of all, it'd be my parents, my mom who's watching. Hi, Mom. Don't cry, Mom. It's happy. My sister, Beth, my sister, Marie, my sister, Heidi, my brother, Nick. Every player I've coached, every assistant I've worked with, special shout out to Amy Tucker. She's here. She was part of 999 wins. The administration I've worked for and university, great university with Stanford, Ohio State, the people that hired me, Phyllis Bailey, Kathy Clark, and Andy Geiger. Every person has been I've gotten so many messages from people. That's been so exciting to hear from people, and I thank you all. It's just a great journey. Also, can I just say that I really hope Pat Summit is looking down and saying, good job, Tara, keep it going. I love coaching against Pat, and we miss her. It's just, this is a wonderful game, and I'm really, really fortunate to be part of it.
Tara, when you reach for all the emotions that you've had in the last couple of days, especially knowing that you're going to cross this incredible milestone, what emotion sticks to you the most right now?
I think, Debbie, the thing is gratitude. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to coach at Stanford and have the opportunities of traveling, working with USA Basketball. And the one thing I just want to say is I know this is the holiday season, and I said to myself, I want to make a difference. We've had players that have really impacted me in a very positive way. Someone like Jennifer Agee, who's so generous, Chris McMurdo. I've learned from my players, and I want to tell you that for every win that I've been part of this year, I want to donate to our local food bank. We do a shot at the end of every practice, and all the coaches, put in $100. No one's made the shot yet, but I think that this time in our country is a very tough time, and 1 in 6 American is hungry, so it behooves me as a very fortunate, privileged person to help.
Well, thank you, Tara, for that, and I'm sure the entire Stanford community appreciates that. You speak so highly and so often of your players, and tonight they wanted to share some of their thoughts and some of your other friends from the Stanford community. So if you can turn around and take a look at the monitor, your former All-American Chinea Gwumake collected some messages for you and has written a full essay that will debut in SportsCenter later tonight. Here's a sample for you, Tara.
What an achievement. So proud of you, and we just love you here at Stanford, and here's to many, many more years of coaching.
Tara, you're a true leader, coach, teacher, and you've taught us how to win on and off the court.
Tara taught me that you can coach a team or a program for a long time and maintain your voice, maintain your presence and your success. And you do that with poise and patience and an understated way about you. And that's what's so impressive to me about Tara.
What a career that you've had, and the things that the commitment that you've made to Stanford University, the influence you've had on all the kids that have gone to school there.
Tara taught me you can be great at the little things.
I love all of these positive quotes and affirmations that you had given us as your athletes, and I was just a sponge for so much information. So I really have been honored to have been coached by you.
This is just an amazing achievement. Really proud of you. really grateful, and can't wait to see what you do next.
Way to go, Tara.
A tremendous feat, and congratulations.
Congrats, Tara.
You are the best, Tara.
Well, thank you so much, Tara, for allowing us to enjoy this evening with you, and the pleasure that we all get from watching your teams play night in and night out. Win number 1,099 at the head of the class. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Beth. Thank you, Debbie. It's awesome. We're really excited. Thank you for being out here.
All right, and more coming up, by the way, with Tara and Scott Van Pelt. Stick around for that. So the Stanford Cardinal get the job done, a big second half, and they beat Pacific 104-61 as Tara Vanderveer passes Pat Summit to #1 career wins. For Debbie Antonelli and our entire crew, I'm Beth Mullins. Thanks so much for joining us. See you on the road to the Women's Final Four.